in this short video, we'll try to cover the overall summary of the Wipro EI Quality Education Study, including why did we do the quality education study. So let us start with first the why question itself. A little bit about the two organizations that are part of the quality education study. I'm part of Wipro Applying Thought in Schools. Wipro Applying Thought in Schools is a social initiative of Wipro's which has been working in school education reform projects for around 12 years now. Over this time, we've built up a partner network across the country of around 30 organizations which work in school education. The kind of organization that we work with, they are NGOs, some of them are for-profit companies working in education, some of them are scientific organizations whose primary focus might be a certain area of knowledge and may not necessarily be directly working in education. So we work with a very diverse set of organizations with very different philosophies and very different objectives, but broadly united in the goal of bringing about better quality education in India. We partnered in this study with Education Initiatives. Education Initiatives is a pioneer in India in assessments, and together we've brought the quality education study to you. Five years back, we had done the SLIM study, Student Learning in Metro Cities. That study was mainly done with the purpose of trying to understand if students in the best schools in India, if we assess them with the point of view of conceptual understanding, how do they stack up? That was the purpose of the study 5 years back. So what we learned out of SLIM, and that was then made public, and it had come into attention in the media a lot. What we learned then in the SLIM study was that even in India's best schools, and a little bit of digression into how did we come to identify the best schools. We had done a very large popular survey of public educationists, etc., and asked them which school did they think is the best school in their city, and the list of schools that we studied in SLIMs were arrived at from that popular survey. So they are broadly the kind of schools that public and educationists think is a good school. And what we learned out of the SLIM study was that our students, even in the best schools, do not do so well when it comes to questions that test their conceptual understanding. And at that point in time, that was a rather alarming kind of a finding. So now 5 years down the line, we wanted to do a reassessment of that. That was one of the reasons why we did the quality education study. At the same time, our own experiences had taught us that we need to expand this framework. When we say quality education in the context of schools, we shouldn't be only talking about student performances in a few subjects. Education itself needs to be seen a little broadly, and we've over the last 12 years worked on around 65 projects, and the kind of experience that we have amassed out of these projects made us realize that we have to broaden out this framework of quality itself. So the second reason we want to do the study is to bring into the debates on quality education a broader focus, bring into this other aspects of quality education beyond just marks or scores or subjects and student performance in general. For example, areas like student attitudes and values, what do students think about civic questions, etc. So next, let's take a look at what did we study within the quality education study. Broadly, we studied 4 areas. We looked at student performance, we looked at student attitudes and values, we looked at learning environments, and co-scholastic areas. These are the 4 areas that we studied within quality education study.
How well are the students in our top schools learning? Students in the top schools of our country seem to exhibit rote learning. Students acquire misconceptions right from lower classes, and some of them remain unchanged even as they move to the higher classes. The performance of Class 4 students is lower than the international average. The performance of Class 8 students is at par with the international average. Performance of class 8 students is better than their international peers on straightforward and recall-based questions. What is the attitude of our students towards gender equality, diversity, and sensitivity? Students exhibit diverse thinking about gender equality, acceptance of cultural and religious diversity, civic citizenship, and ecological responsibilities. Some of the views indicate a bias which may grow into prejudices. What kinds of learning environments lead to better student performance? Principals believing in instructional leadership, teachers believing in constructivist teaching learning practices, principals' feelings of self-efficacy, teachers not believing in physical punishment, classrooms where students feel involved in classroom practices, and classrooms where students feel that they are treated equally, all tend to lead to better student performance. What importance is given to the co-scholastic areas? Majority of the principals think that co-scholastic areas are important for overall development of students, but no major emphasis is given to these areas in the curriculum. Co-scholastic areas, sports, art and craft are given higher emphasis than music, dance, drama and debates. What other factors are associated with greater student achievement? Students reading materials other than textbooks for 60 minutes every day, students being able to read and do their homework independently, students being taught maths by a teacher with a master's degree, students being able to share their school problems with their parents.
One would unanimously agree that schools are places where children develop to be holistic individuals. But the fact that we have to recognize is that schools are not only places where children are developed to be capable thinkers, but also schools could be the places where notions related to poverty issues or intolerance when it comes to cultural intolerance or religious intolerance, or even biases, whether it could be a gender bias or a bias towards a differently abled child, or let us say issues related to civic sense and citizenship. So all these notions and practices could be overturned and challenged, and schools are potential places where children could be developed to challenge and overturn and actually improve on many of these aspects. Hence large awareness campaigns are needed where schools participate and elaborate and try to understand this notion of quality, and also what sort of learning environments lead to such quality. So I would say that overall the study gives insights to policymakers, to teachers, also to students when they are going through the misconceptions and so on, and also overall to educationists and researchers in pushing and understanding our concept of quality in education. We need a wide-ranging debate on alternative models to the existing school systems. For example, how we can allow students to pursue their own interests, basically by streaming them in the various interests they would have. School systems where we can empower teachers in a consultative decision making process, because what the study finds is that when the teachers are involved and they feel that there is a democratic process to decision making, then the school climate improves, and it also has effects on classroom climate and hence student learning. So can we do something about finding out models by which we can actually empower teachers? What should schools do in terms of building attitudes and values for children? So where do they start, where do they limit themselves, and what is that they need to do? So exploring these alternative models requires debate, discussion among the various stakeholders to come to certain conclusions. We also need to provide effective teacher support, which is possible from the results of the study. For example, the study gives out a number of misconceptions that students have when it comes to various concepts. So if teachers are trained to handle these misconceptions through their training and effective teaching learning materials, whereby they strengthen their own concepts themselves, this would go a long way in strengthening the system and move it towards a learning with understanding approach rather than the rote learning that is currently happening. Definitions of quality must be open to change. and should also evolve based on the challenges that education system faces. So, the quality education study, whatever it has brought out, I would say is the tip of the iceberg. We need further studies which would dig deeper into these notions of quality to unpack it further and tangibilize it such that it's very evident or clear on what parameters are needed, what factors would contribute to quality and so on, and which will help us strengthen the system.